Well, howdy there, folks. James, Political Friar, coming to you again. I got the London School of Economics hat on, and so we're going to talk about an international relations topic on this one. Specifically, we're going to talk about what the heck is going on in the Red Sea. Now, if you don't know, the story is a separatist group, an Islamic, not terrorist, but populist group named the Houthis out of Yemen have been lobbing missiles at cargo ships transiting the Red Sea. So it's a big shipping lane. Yeah, ships going from Europe to Asia will usually go through the Mediterranean and through the Suez Canal and through the Red Sea out into the Indian Ocean, then around to Asia. So there's a huge amount of cargo that passes within range of the Houthi rebels and their missiles. And it begs the question, why are they shooting at cargo ships? And the answer has something to do with who the Houthis are and something to do with their objectives and the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. So, who are the Houthis? Well, the Houthis are a populist movement that arose out of the Houthi tribe in northern Yemen in about 1990. The long term dictator of Yemen was corrupt. His name was Salah. He was using Yemen as his own personal piggy bank, and the Houthis, being a disfavored minority Shia group, didn't like it. And so, under Houthi leadership, an insurgency got going, and eventually Salah lost. He actually ended up seeing the writing on the wall before he lost entirely, and he switched sides. He actually went over to the Houthis, and from 2014 till 2017, he helped them against his former government in the south. And so, civil war proper really got started off in 2011, and it's still going technically. I mean, civil war is exactly what it is, and it's not war on an intensity of, say, Ukraine versus Russia or World War II. It's a lower intensity conflict. Now there is territory. It's not like an insurgency like we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan. There are front lines. There's just not enough combat power to really move the front lines much, and so it's just a simmering murder of everyone involved. The civilians are fair targets. Both sides have attacked them, and so you've just got this sort of constant death and constant militarism. But it also means that the Houthis are pretty well armed and they're pretty disposed to violence. And so when modern technology came around and you end up with cheap drones as a way to conduct pseudo airstrikes without an air force, well, the Houthis were one of the very first to figure out how to do that. Famously, they sent a drone into Saudi Arabia all the way to Riyadh, thousands of kilometers away, not thousands, hundreds of kilometers away, and blew up some Saudi oil infrastructure, causing oil prices to spike. And that drone probably cost a couple $1,000. That was, some years ago, but it was an indication of the Houthis figuring that they can affect the world economy with pretty cheap drones, and they can hurt their enemies. So let's do one more thing about the Houthi movement. I want to read you their slogan so you can get a sense of who these people are. The slogan is God is greatest, death to America, death to Israel, a curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam. All right, so those are the folks we're dealing with. When Hamas, who has a very similar ideology, launched its war against Israel on October 7th, the Houthis naturally rose in support. They have been the external organization that has probably been the most supportive of Hamas, even more supportive than Hezbollah or Iran, uh, because the Houthis are taking real action. I mean, the Hezbollah rocket attacks in the north of Israel are probably comparable, but those attacks are directed at Israel. The Houthis have done one better. They've started directing attacks at the world at large. See, by disrupting international trade, they're causing harm literally everywhere that international trade touches, which is literally everywhere. And so, as shipping rates go up, so do prices. As insurance rates for those voyages go up, so do prices. So the Houthis have taken as their target literally everybody, because everybody is going to have to pay higher rates on the goods that they consume every day. And they're doing that to put pressure on the world, to put pressure on Israel to stop fighting the war in Hamas. And actually, it's a pretty rational strategy. And so the Houthis take their drone technology that they've gotten pretty good at, and the missiles that Iran has supplied them, and they take pot shots at ships, and they don't hit them. The American Navy and the British Navy have more than sufficient anti-missile and anti-air defenses to ward off these missiles. They haven't hit a single ship, but in simply threatening it, in acting as in this sort of piratical nature, uh, big shipping companies won't go through the Red Sea anymore. Maersk has already directed many of its ships to go all the way around Africa, raising the cost of the voyage. And so, what the Houthis have accomplished by not hitting ships but just lobbing missiles at them is exactly what they wanted to. They raised the prices for everything. And so, why are we talking about this now? Well, we're on the precipice of the British, probably, but maybe the Americans deciding to take a little bit different approach than they have in previous months. In previous months, the Americans and British have confined themselves to the Red Sea. That is to say that they'll shoot down missiles and drones over the Red Sea. And there was a speedboat attack. There was an attempt to actually board a commercial vessel that the Americans shot up. So the Americans have killed Houthis in this war, but they've only killed them over the ocean. There's a thought that maybe it's time to start striking at the launch sites for these missiles and drones. It's not going to be easy, particularly to degrade the ability of the Houthis to fire missiles and drones. The launch infrastructure isn't significant, and they can move. But if you start killing the people who launch the rockets, maybe they'll stop launching the rockets. And it appears by some reports that Britain is about ready to start that process. See, when a drone costs, you know, $700, and you attach ordnance that costs another $200, you got a $900 vehicle out to sink or damage a multi $10 million sometimes cargo ship, and you have to shoot it down. Because you have to shoot it down, you can't let the cargo ship get hit, but in shooting it down you expend a $120,000 missile. Pretty good exchange rate, right? $900 for $120 on the other side. So it becomes, how do you do this more efficiently? It's clear that $120 is great. $120,000 is greater than the 10 million, and so of course you shoot the drone down. But boy, don't you wish you didn't have to spend $120,000, countering a $900 expenditure? And the way you maybe do that is you start killing. You start dropping bombs on the people who are launching the rockets, and eventually maybe they get dissuaded from doing it. The downside of that is you're now in, at least a little, a intractable civil war. An intractable civil war that Saudi Arabia spent 7 years trying to solve with airstrikes and not succeeding. So there's some doubt about whether airstrikes would work. It's a pickle. It's a pickle. And so it's worth watching. The thing that is likely to happen is there's likely to be a tit for tat escalation ladder that is right out of a political science textbook. But who's going to win that escalation it's a real mystery, because it's not like there are going to be any troops on the ground that could actually occupy the launch sites. And so if you don't occupy the ground where they drive their truck up and launch a rocket or a drone in 15 minutes, you can't really interdict the rockets and drones with airstrikes. It's gonna be weird. But look for Britain, at least, to launch some demonstration strikes against Houthi rebels on land. And we'll see whether that changes the Houthis' behavior. I think it probably won't. I think the only thing that will change the Houthis' behavior is a cessation of hostilities between Hamas and Israel. Until then, probably we all are going to suffer a little bit. I mean, prices are going to go up by a cent here and there. It's not like you're going to particularly notice, but it still sucks. It still costs the world economy. Anyway, it's just a thought. Let me know how wrong I am in the comments down below. Leave this video a like and hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate you. Thanks.